The New York Jets are for real. They just went to Lambeau and beat down the Green Bay Packers by 3 possessions. 27-10. Are you kidding me? To beat the Green Bay Packers is good enough, right? That's one thing. But then when we start factoring in little details like the Jets beating Green Bay in Lambeau, I mean, we all know Aaron Rodgers' record at home. We all know Mike LaFleur's career record as the Green Bay Packers head coach. We start factoring in Green Bay's success post-loss, right? Last week they gave frankly, in my opinion, they gave the game to the New York Giants. They blew it. I was expecting to get Green Bay's best punch. I really was expecting Green Bay to try to blow the doors off the Jets early on to get a nice sizable lead, given Green Bay's success in doing that this season. And on the flip side, the Jets' struggles, not only just this season, but even going back to last season, they typically start slow. When they do, those games usually result in losses, okay? So given that understanding, that common understanding, I was really expecting Green Bay to just start, again, racking up points like crazy, but that wasn't the case. And you know what's crazy about the entire game from a macro perspective? If you would have came to me early on and said, hey, the Jets were going to absolutely destroy the Green Bay Packers, win by 3 possessions, and Zach Wilson's stat line was going to be 10 of 18, throwing for less than 115 yards, no passing touchdowns on the day, multiple drop passes, getting flagged left and right. Some calls were fair, some calls weren't, in my opinion. I felt like overall on both sides, the officiating was absolutely horrendous. It was horrendous. The Jets would start off slow. There'd be some questionable play calls early on. The Packers defensive line really got after Zach Wilson early in the game. Couldn't really find that rhythm, and the Jets would still win by 3 scores. I would have said probably not. If that's the case, though, if what you're telling me is a fact, then the defense has got to look like the best defense in football and easily the best defensive performance under Robert Saleh, and that was actually the case. The defense today was flat out unbelievable. Quinnen Williams, Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed, Quan Alexander, Quincy Williams, Jordan Whitehead was back there making plays. John Franklin Myers stepped up. I mean, the defense today was flat out unreal. Aaron Rodgers was under duress the entire day. I felt like he didn't really feel comfortable at all. At one point, he looked extremely frustrated, and granted, he was... it did look like his hand was bothering him, and I know that's kind of been one of the bigger storylines leading up to the game. Was Aaron Rodgers 100% healthy? Obviously, Rashawn Gary kind of banged up as well. No Christian Watson. But man, I cannot believe how good this defense... I was expecting a good defensive performance, I'll say that, but I was not expecting elite. Literally, like if you show that game to anybody, I don't care if they're a Jet fan or not, they would probably walk away and say, you know what, that's the best defense in football. That's a top 3 unit right there. The Packers couldn't throw, they couldn't run, Rodgers couldn't get comfortable, they couldn't really establish anything, zero momentum whatsoever. They had a couple drop passes. The offensive line was just getting bullied all day. I gotta be honest, I was stunned to see how bad the Packers offensive line looked. The Jets were running stunts. Green Bay couldn't figure out how to stop it. I was shocked on how poor the Packers O-line looked today. But man, going back to the Jets here, I couldn't be happier. Yes, it wasn't perfect. Yes, there are still I feel like I come on here every recap video and talk about, some of the little things that bother me throughout the game, whether it's giving up a ton of penalty yardage, slow starts, stuff like that. But, even though if you want to flip that same exact point and look at it through an optimistic lens, you can say the Jets they're not playing their best football, and they are literally dominating good football teams. That is crazy. Imagine if Zach Wilson threw for 250 today. Would the score look any different? I would probably say yes. Imagine if the Jets didn't get flagged a million times. Would the score look maybe a little bit different? I would say yes. Or if guys hung on to a couple of dropped passes, we hit that field goal and didn't miss it. We decided to feed Breece Hall early in the game. I felt like Matt and Mike LaFleur in the first half specifically, they were almost trying to outsmart each other. I felt like both teams should have just tried to run the football. to be honest with you, I didn't even look at the weather report going in. I had no idea it was going to be raining and everything. But, I mean, I look at Green Bay's running back room. They're stacked. A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones is one of the Packers' best players, one of the best running backs in football. I felt like he was virtually non-existent. We flip it over to the Jets. Breece Hall, Michael Carter, two of the best young backs in football. And they weren't really too involved in the first half. I'm thinking, what is going on here? They're trying to, both teams are trying to throw the football. Things got to change in the second half. Just feed the running backs. The Jets did. Breece rushed for 116 yards on the ground with a touchdown. I cannot say how happy, how excited I am for the rookies on this football team, the young players. I mean, of course, you can make the argument these guys should be performing. I mean, Breece Hall was the best running back coming out of college. This team had 3 first-round picks. They should be performing well, but to actually see it happen is a completely different thing, right? To actually see it blossom on the field, because, I mean, look, the Jets have had draft picks every single year, but there's been a lot of misses, whether it's, D. Milner and Copels, the list goes on and on. The Jets have whiffed on a lot of picks. Sometimes I don't necessarily think it's the player's fault. I think, years ago in some cases, maybe it was the team that let some of the players down. But I mean, this is why it's so important to draft system fits and culture fits, right? Guys that you A, you know that they're really good prospects, but B, they're going to come in and be a seamless transition. Sauce Gardner, I'm not over exaggerating. I know I'm a Jet fan. I know they're coming off an extremely incredible win, but Sauce Gardner literally looks like the best corner in football. He does. If you don't want to go that far, I don't blame you. It's only been 6 games, but you would at least have to say top 10. I mean, this guy has been he's been playing unbelievable football since the start of the season. By the way, I know he actually got hurt. I'm going to have to double check and see, where that whole thing stands. Hopefully it's not anything serious, but I did see that he had to go back to the locker room. But man, the Jets absolutely dominate the Green Bay Packers 27-10. Still can't believe it. And the best part about it all, the Jets were still not perfect. It's not like Wilson had to go out there, throw for 400 yards. Green Bay was penalized, 15 times, and they were fumbling the ball and throwing picks, and every little thing had to go right for the Jets to win. No, because the Jets had so many things working against them as well, and they still walked away in a blowout win. Unbelievable. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section, and thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. Go Jets.